Komabale, Malawi si komaleo. When you thought politics would take a nap, Bon Kalindo said, let's wake the lions. Today, October 11, the man has done it again. Wasambwadza DPP Pankania George Kasakula, the one who's been trending like power cuts on a rainy night. And to make it juicier, the issue connects straight to none other than Peter Mutharika himself. Now, whether you're sipping your tea at home, stuck in traffic on the M1, or just doom scrolling on your phone, this story is everywhere. It's got drama, accountability, politics, and a sprinkle of Malawian spice. Because when Kalindo talks, mwamba mumagwedeleka. So today on GlobalPulseNewz, we're diving into what exactly Bon Kalindo said, why he's firing at the DPP, how George Kasakula and Mutharika are tied into this political tug-of-war, and what it all means for Malawi's democracy and the future of our media space. This isn't your usual dry press briefing. This one's dripping with power play, ego, and a bit of, kudindizona energy. Let's get right into it with truth number one, Bon Kalindo's verbal grenade at the DPP. So picture this. Bon Kalindo standing before cameras, his voice steady but sharp, delivering a message that slices through the political noise like a machete through sugarcane. He accused the Democratic Progressive Party, the DPP, of hypocrisy. Yes, hypocrisy abale. According to Kalindo, the party that once stood for discipline and structure has now become a den of contradictions. He said, you can't claim to be defenders of justice when you protect those misusing public platforms. And right there, he threw shade directly at the handling of George Kasakula's issue. Kalindo believes DPP has lost its backbone, that it's become a party too comfortable with its own mess. Now, Bon being Bon, he doesn't do diplomacy. The man speaks like he's allergic to filters. He called out DPP for double standards, how they quickly condemn others but go quiet when their own get into scandals. He used words like undisciplined, lost integrity, and my favorite, mukufuna antwa samve, komantawino antwa dhuka. Social media erupted faster than a pothole complaint in Blantyre. Some praised him, saying, at least there's someone fearless. Others rolled their eyes, Kalindo unyo amakwenda publicity. But whichever side you're on, you can't deny the impact. He dragged the conversation from whispers to national headlines. And that's classic Bon. He doesn't just criticize, he provokes reflection. Whether for love or drama, he forces you to think. Transition hook. But Bon didn't stop there. His fire had a target, a name at the center of this heatwave, so buckle up because truth number two is where the plot thickens like palaya mungaiwa pamoto. Now, if you've been following Malawian media for a while, the name George Kasakula isn't new. He's the Director General at MBC, a man who's navigated the thin line between journalism and politics longer than some of us have had Wi-Fi. But today he's not trending for a news bulletin. He's trending because Bon Kalindo called him out for allegedly using the state broadcaster as a personal or political tool. He accused Kasakula of bias, saying MBC has been too cozy with certain political narratives, especially those that flatter Peter Mutharika or sideline opposing views. He even went as far as saying state media should not be a praise team. Tieni tizikala ndi chirungamo. That statement hit hard. For years, critics have accused MBC of favoring ruling parties, whichever one is in power. But hearing it from Bon, a man once linked with political movements himself, made it sting differently. It wasn't just critique, it was an insider's job. Kasakula himself has long defended MBC, saying the broadcaster serves national unity. But Bon's tone suggested unity without truth is just propaganda in a nice jacket. Tikufuna mau ya antu onse, osati ya chipani chimodi. So while Kasakula has his defenders, today he's in the hot seat. And here's the irony. His silence since the statement has only fueled speculation. Because in politics, silence speaks louder than statements. Transition hook. But every puppet show has a master behind the curtain, right?
So the question everyone is whispering now is, what about Peter Mutharika, the man being pepesaed in this whole mess? Let's unpack that in truth number 3.
When you mention Peter Mutharika, emotions rise faster than fuel prices. He's still a towering figure in Malawian politics, respected by supporters, criticized by opponents, and always in the spotlight. So, when Bon Kalindo tied his name to this debate, everyone perked up. The phrase "pepesa Peter Mutharika," essentially an apology toward the former president, became a lightning rod. Bon suggested that DPP figures and media allies are using apologies and selective narratives to rebuild Mutharika's image ahead of possible political ambitions. He said this culture of pampering leaders instead of holding them accountable weakens democracy. Now, that's a bold statement. Kalindo argued that if Mutharika's name keeps surfacing in stories of control, favoritism, and apology politics, then DPP must decide whether it stands for truth or nostalgia. He challenged them directly. Kodi mukufuna kubwereranso mumoyo woti zona sizikuyenda, tieni tipange zinthu chilungamo. Reactions were split, as usual. Loyalists said Bon is desperate for relevance, accusing him of twisting the narrative for clicks. But many ordinary Malawians said, at least win now Ayanka. Because, to be fair, Bon's courage resonates with a public tired of staged politics. If anything, his remarks reminded people how sensitive Malawi's media-politics relationship remains. The apology saga isn't just about words, it's about who controls the microphone. And Mutharika, knowingly or not, sits right at the center of that power dynamic. Bon's implication was simple. If media leaders shape narratives to please political icons, we lose our national compass. That's not leadership, that's theater. Transition hook. But Bon's storm didn't end with accusations. The ripples reached those who weren't even in the ring. DPP loyalists, media watchdogs, and silent observers now caught in the crossfire. And that's where we land on truth number 4, the defenders, the quiet ones, and the fallout that's shaking Malawi's political ground.
Koma Malawi. If our politics was a drama, today's episode would be called Antu Akumva Moto, Koma Akungoseka. Because while Bon Kalindo was busy dropping verbal grenades, DPP's reaction has been a mix of denial, defense, and dead silence. Right after Kalindo's fiery statement, some DPP loyalists jumped to Kasakula's defense faster than you can say pepesa. They called Bon's outburst as reckless, attention-seeking, and a deliberate attempt to destabilize the party. One senior member reportedly said, Kalindo is just making noise to stay relevant. But here's where it gets interesting. Some insiders quietly agreed with him. Off camera, a few admitted that maybe, just maybe, DPP needed a little soul searching. Palizo na pangono hapa. One confidant whispered to a journalist. That's how you know the heat is real, when people agree in private but tremble in public. Meanwhile, MBC employees found themselves in an awkward spot. Some defended their boss, saying Kasakula is doing his best in a highly political environment. Others rolled their eyes, mumbling amene alindi mphamvu, ndiye amene amalamula nkhani. Because let's face it, in state media, neutrality is often a myth wrapped in a paycheck. Now, here's what makes this moment unique. Bon Kalindo didn't just trigger political debate. He created a national introspection moment. Across radio shows, Twitter threads, and village discussions, people are asking, Kodi timadizua ndani amene amaendeta mau adzikolino? That question hits deeper than party lines. It touches our democracy's backbone. And then there's the silence, the deliberate kind. Major DPP heavyweights like Peter Mutharika himself haven't uttered a single public word about it. No official statement, no rebuttal, just silence. Some say it's strategy. Some say it's fear, but silence can be the loudest statement in politics. So now, Malawi waits. Will DPP clarify its stance on Kasakula's media role? Or will this blow over like last week's trending scandal? Because abale, ntawi ikupita,
koma zona zimangoyenda ndi mphefu. But behind the gossip and the memes, there's a bigger conversation, one that cuts through personalities and touches on systems. Let's end this with truth number 5, what this entire saga really means for Malawi's democracy, media, and public trust. Let's zoom out a bit here. If you strip away the shouting, the Facebook lives, and the political branding, what's left here is a lesson, a heavy one. Malawi's democracy runs on the oxygen of truth, and when media and politics get tangled, that oxygen starts to thin. Bon Kalindo's outburst may sound like noise to some, but deep down, he's pointing to a real crack in our system. For decades, we've watched state media sway like a chitenje in the wind, changing colors depending on who's in power. Every government promises reform, yet every ruling party seems to enjoy the same old privilege, controlling the story. And when that happens, truth becomes a luxury. MBC, newspapers, even radio call-in shows, instead of informing, they start performing. It's like we are living in an endless rerun where everyone is pretending to be surprised by the same plot twist. Kalindo's message is a wake-up call. Tieni tisiye kudetantu ni mau achipangi chimodi. Media should be a mirror, not the megaphone. A mirror reflects truth even when it's ugly. A megaphone just amplifies whoever's holding it. Let's be honest, DPP is not the first and probably not the last to face this accusation. But this moment feels different because the public is watching closely, more skeptical than ever. People are tired of recycled narratives. They want accountability, transparency, and fairness, not misstatement achiprisi. And here's where it gets personal. In this digital age, ordinary Malawians are no longer passive listeners. TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, everyone now has a voice. That means the monopoly of official truth is fading. Kalindo's statement caught fire not because it was perfect, but because it tapped into a shared frustration. Why do we always have to beg for honesty? If Malawi's leaders, in politics and in media, fail to hear that cry, they risk becoming irrelevant in the eyes of the very people they claim to serve. Because abare, ntawi ino antusakufuna ma microphone, akifuna mau au. So whether you agree with Bon Kalindo or not, this saga forces us all to look in the mirror. Are we demanding better from those in power? Are we holding media accountable for fairness? Are we thinking before we share, or just amplifying what feels good? Because that's where democracy either strengthens or breaks. Not in parliament, not in rallies, but in how we process truth. And speaking of truth, what comes next might just define how Malawi's political landscape evolves in the coming months. Let's wrap this up with what to expect and what GlobalPulseNewz will be watching closely. So here's the bottom line, Abale Manga. This story, Bon Kalindo versus DPP versus Kasakula, is not just a political gossip headline. It's a thermometer for Malawi's democratic temperature. The heat is real, and it's exposing just how fragile our systems of accountability have become. Whether you think Bon is a hero or a hothead, you can't deny that he has cracked open a conversation we desperately need to have. Who owns the truth in Malawi? Is it the politicians, the media, or us, the people who consume it? From a journalistic perspective, this saga is a reminder that every democracy needs watchdogs who bark, even if they bark too loud sometimes. Silence, politeness, and blind loyalty don't build nations. Courage, curiosity, and confrontation do. Here's what to watch next. Will DPP issue a formal response addressing Bon's accusations or Kasakula's role? Will MDC release a transparency report or statement to clear the air? Will opposition figures capitalize on this momentum to push for broader media reform? Because, make no mistake, this story is not ending today. It's evolving. Now, let's talk to you, the viewers, the heartbeat of GlobalPulseNewz. I want to hear from you. Do you think Bon Kalindo crossed the line or simply said what everyone else is too scared to say? Is MBC just doing its job, or has it become too political for comfort? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. No insults, just pure Malawian intellect. And as we always say, stay woke, stay wise, and musikale galula ma headline, karinkambwa manzeru. This is GlobalPulseNewz, the home of smart news for smart people. Until next time, muli bwino koma nkalini ndi mtelere.